My name is Mary Beth Barber and I work for the California State Library, and I am going to show you the benefit of what is called the California K12 Online Content Project. These are big suites of online content that can be used for K12 education, especially for distance learning. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now, and this should take about 10 minutes, but I'm going to be working really fast. So if you want to check everything out yourself, go to library.ca.gov. That is the California State Library's main website. So when you get there, go ahead. If this is during the COVID-19 school closures, if you've got this big blue box in front of you, go ahead and click into there. And you will see some basic information and quick access buttons. So the K12 Online Content Project are suites of library content that are online that can be used in a K12 context to augment education, particularly distance learning, because we're at home. I'm going to start off. There are 3 different content providers: ProQuest, TeachingBooks, and Britannica. I'm going to start off with the ProQuest database and then move on to the other 3. These can be utilized for all grades, pre-K all the way through 12 in different contexts. So starting off, ProQuest. ProQuest started out as the company that streamlined and put microfilm and then microfiche into all libraries. So all of those periodicals that ended up on microfilm, that was started by the ProQuest company. That in turn, that company grew up and turned to the internet. So that's where all of the storage, that information came to. It's well known within the university, a university setting, but the ProQuest company has also taken the information and created different views into their massive amounts of data storage and information storage, and created a fantastic pattern for teaching kids how to do research. So hypothetically, let's say you are teaching a grade and it's the first research paper that a child has to do. I would recommend going into the ProQuest SIRS Discoverer. Now, SIRS stands for Social Issues Researcher Series. It was started by an educator who realized that the social science, history, social science curriculum didn't keep up with the times, didn't keep up with the issues that are most interesting to kids when he and she, was a husband and wife team, were teaching class. So what they did was they created, this is back in the day when you had CDs and DVDs that you could ship off to folks. They would put current topics and all of the background information onto those packages of content. Well, that in turn, once we had the internet, turned into this. So starting off with SIRS Issue Discoverer, when we get into there, you will see this really nice browsable interface where you've got all of these different topics that students can do papers on. So let's say we're going to do a paper on famous people. And here's a whole list of suggestions. You can, a child can browse through here and choose different ones. And if they are a huge Harry Potter fan, well, they can go in and they can take a look at the view for J.K. Rowling. And what they get is this really great little summary about J.K. Rowling, who she is, the timeline that's developed for who she is, and how she ended up writing the Harry Potter series. Now you'll see some fun stuff over here. For example, teachers and students alike can save this to the cloud. Citations, especially citations that come from the internet, are always complicated. Well, if you press cite here, boom, ProQuest does the work for you. You can also change different formats. So if you want APA instead of MLA, that's the format for that. All the student has to do is press copy. They can print that. They can email this entry to somebody else. Now you have a lot of learners who are auditory learners. They hear by listening, not necessarily by reading, or at least they can retain information a bit better.
J.K. Rowling research topic contents biography articles, did you know?
So This particular device that's for accessibility will read this entire article on this page. A lot of these resources that you'll see have all of the features that I'm describing here. They're quite useful. So going back, and let's say, great, we've done our early researchers, they've gotten a little idea of how to cite, how to find evidence, that sort of thing. And now we want to get into sort of a debate, like topics that have different viewpoints. That's the next level for ProQuest. The SIRS Issue Researcher Quick Access button is what I'm going to touch here. So Issues Researcher, same kind of format, same kind of interface, but this time we've got big issues that are important to students and that have different types of viewpoints. So let's say you've got a student who's an animal lover. So we're going to talk about animal rights as a leading issue. You can again listen. You can again save this to the cloud. You've got citation capability, print, email, all of that. You can click for the full summary. But now you have different viewpoints. And you can see here's one side of the argument, here's another one. Now, here's something that's really great. Remember, ProQuest has a ton of content in the back end. So when your student gets the first idea of, okay, this is a topic that I'm interested in, but now they have to narrow it down, find something very specifically about that. That's how they use this. And they find the more sources that are available from the ProQuest storage, information storage in the back. As you can see, there's 4,700 newspaper articles about this, over 5,000 magazines. They can limit this if they need to, but there is just a ton of stuff that they can go through and they can start searching. Teaches the students how to do research. Now, that's great, but like, how do you get the kids to actually start thinking and about how to do those research papers? ProQuest has another tool. It's called Research Companion. And in Research Companion is a series of modules that take the students through a video and question and answer situation. How do you find more information? How do you evaluate information? How do you evaluate sources? What counts as evidence? These are all little different mini videos that talk about this. When you use information, how do I write a thesis statement? How do I organize an argument? How do I avoid plagiarism? That's very, very important. How do I revise? And then what can I do better next time? This can be assigned and a student can do this at home and then have a discussion. And if we're still in distance learning, have a discussion via Zoom about what's important and what works with that. So now if we're going to go up a few more grades, you're getting an older student who needs to really be on their own and learn how to find information through approaching what would be college level types of situations. You can try the e-library guided research. Now, e-library is going to be a bigger pot of data, of information, of sources, but you still have some nice interface if you wanted to stay within a few of the different main topics. But let's say what we're really interested in is paying for college. Huge topic for most students. Here we get back into this, and now look what happens. You've got 38,000 different newspapers about this and 2,500 magazines. The students can then, when they are researching this particular topic, can start going through and finding different sources about the topic of paying for college. And then they can build their research paper off of that. Keep in mind, I'm dealing mostly with history, social science topics right now, but this can also be done in the sciences. This is going to be really important and interesting as we get closer and closer to our graduating seniors, and we've got to prep them to be college and career ready. This particular resource right here, ProQuest Central Student, this is a college level resource. Here, and let's go ahead and put in the same term. Here we get into even more. This is over 1 million different sources that we can look at. But what you can see here is that we can have peer reviewed. start having conversations with your students about what does peer-reviewed mean in terms of academic research and papers. How many of them are scholarly journals, dissertations, and theses? I mean, there's a ton more here. And again, you have access to all of this through ProQuest. I'm going to go ahead and go back to our quick access page. Now, quick access was, I think I had mentioned earlier, when COVID-19 closed all of the schools, home access became an issue. Over 90% of the schools in the state have signed up for technical access on campus, as well as credentials so that their students can work from home through a district portal. Most of those require an access name for the district and an access code, but while we have the quick access page up, you won't need that. Your access is geolocated in the state of California. One more resource from ProQuest. They added in an ebook feature. These are all nonfiction books. And well, I don't know about you, but I, during this time period, became fascinated by sourdough. So just for fun, I went ahead and put in here, gee, do they have any books on sourdough? And lo and behold, we've got 91 results when we put that in, and we've got a great little book there about bread, A Global History. That's going to be good for your middle schoolers, if I recall, based off of what the reading level was like. But oh wow, loads of fun, history of bread and activities. This is what I need for my kiddo. She's bouncing off the walls. You can read the book online. You can download portions of the book or download a chapter and save that as a PDF so that you can share that if there's a teacher that wanted to do that within Google Drive. And then you can read all of this. Again, these are resources that are available for all public school students, educators, and the families that are teaching and helping assist in the education world in California. Now, let's say you don't have a fourth grader, you have a kindergartner or a first grader, and you're like, the most important thing right now is for my kid to really want to read, and finding resources that can encourage reading. Teaching books and book connections are two different views of, again, another big pot of information, and it is very specifically geared towards finding the social and emotional connections to the love of reading. So we're just going to go ahead and go in. Again, this is geo-authenticated. You can get in as a California resident. You can see up in the corner there that Teaching Books has greeted me because they know that I am located in California. And I see some really great books a little above my kindergartner or first graders. So let's go in there and just switch it over to that. And, oh, well, this looks interesting. So if I'm from a family that would be interested in dreamers and such, let's see, we've got 51 total resources. Gigi Morales, a Latino background, because there's the cultural area right there. And let's take a look at what we've got here. We've got Meet the Author movies and other different recordings. Audio name pronunciation.
Hello, my name is Gigi Morales. First name is spelled Y-U-Y-I. Confusing, isn't it? It is all because of Spanish. In Mexico, where I was born, the letter Y is pronounced as a J.
There are thousands upon thousands of these kind of interviews with the authors that not only explain their name, but a little bit about themselves and about how they fit in the world and in the classroom, as well as interviews and other types of resources that can be used. Now, going back and seeing other different types of books and such, getting books home to kids has been a challenge during this time period. Let's say we were working with The Giver. Just want to show some of the resources that are here. And not only do you have author interviews, but you've also got book guides, activities, and lessons. And within those book guides, activities, and lessons, we've got some discussion guides. We've got a teacher's guide from different organizations that have taken a look at this. We've got a vocabulary list. This particular book has won for awards and distinctions. These are things that can be utilized by a teacher. Let's say they wanted to have the students read just a section of The Giver. You can use the Google Preview button and you can open up the book. You're not going to be able to see everything, but you will be able to see parts of the book. And so now suddenly, while the book, say, a digital copy that's being checked out by a local library is being shared among students, in the meantime, the bulk of the students in a particular class can get a flavor of this book and then can have different discussions about what's going on. There are others, books that have full book readings on this particular site. And you can search those really quick by getting into the resource type and then looking at complete book readings. And now suddenly, if you wanted, especially for the younger kids, to have a book read to them, especially Tar Beach is one of my favorites for the African American community. It's a beautiful book. And not only do you have a meet the author recording and such, but you also have a full book reading. So when you get into it, it was originally created by NPR. And we can meet our author.
My name is Faith Ringgold, and I wrote Tar Beach, the book, in 1990. I will always remember when the stars fell down around me and lifted me up above the George Washington Bridge.
This is going to be ideal for your little ones, and there are hundreds of these that you can link into from the Teaching Books site. So let's then think about, okay, Tar Beach is about the George Washington Bridge in New York City and how it was built. Well, what about the nonfiction side of that? So now we can use Britannica. So if we're going to the Britannica Middle School, well, let me see, I don't know if it's in here. And here we've got giant suspension bridges, which include the George Washington Bridge in here. So we can take a look at the STEM side of the building of the different bridges in this case, New York, because there's the GWB, George Washington Bridge, and there's the Brooklyn. And here's a bunch of information about how to use this under the STEM heading, which is going to be bridge. This is at the middle school level. You can go up a level to find out more. The text is going to be more complicated. At the high school level, which is reading level 3, but you can also go down to reading level 1 if we want something that's just the facts and something a bit more straightforward. Now, like we've seen before, you've got the ability.
Introduction. A bridge is a structure that allows people and vehicles to cross over an open space.
So if you've got auditory learners, you can listen to the entries. Another advantage of this page is, let's say, hypothetically, you've got a family that is from Brazil. That's where they speak Portuguese. And they want to be able to understand, I'm going to go back into level 2 and get the gist of what's happening here. You have this instant translate button that you can go through. You can choose, there's Portuguese, and here we are. It's, while the text is not perfect, because it is instant translated by a computer, it does give a reader of Portuguese the gist of what's going on. So suddenly now you've got parents that can help their students at home and all be on the same subject. There's also, if we take a look here, sources related to teachers. So the teachers can start to take a look at the standards, get the lexile level of this particular entry, and be able to build what they need to based off of the standards and the guidelines that they would have. Now, While I said Portuguese, when it's instantly translated, would not read in Portuguese. So that only works for reading, and otherwise the audio is for English. However, Britannica is an international company. Britannica has a South American division, or a Latin American division, which means, if I can get back to, give me a second, which means that there is an entire resource in native Spanish. This was written by Spanish speakers. And when we get in here and take a look at it, we can take a look at different topics. Everything here is in Spanish. So let's say we wanted to see this particular article.
Provincia proconsular romana, creada en 146 a.C., después de que Roma destruyera Cartago.
This entire resource is in Spanish, and they can, auditory learners who speak Spanish can listen to this in Spanish. It's very, very useful for English language learners whose home language is Spanish, but also for world languages, for students who are studying Spanish to be able to hear that. And then finally, I wanted to point out, if you've got really little ones and you want to give them resources that don't look as scholarly, let's say, as the middle and high school for Britannica, the elementary interface is bright, colorful, friendly, and now here's a safe place for students to browse and take a look at, animals and a world atlas, at biographies. There's even one for your really little ones to get them started to create, play, read. This particular interface is safe for kids to play in. So this is a quick overview of the resources that are available from the K12 online content. If you have any questions, my email is located right there. And please visit us at library.ca.gov. We do have a regular newsletter, an e-newsletter that goes out about twice a month that gives other resources and training opportunities. We have plenty of trainings that are all online right now in real time with professional trainers from the companies that are part of this project. There is no cost. It's all open and free for folks in California to be able to use. That goes for parents as well as students and educators. And thank you for your time.